we just kicked over to 12:01, so we'll get started. And look, thanks very much, everybody, for attending, and welcome to this webinar here with Single Use Aint Sexy's founders and myself, Robin Holt, here representing Birchal. I'm absolutely thrilled to have been working with these guys, and even since the beginning of us talking, I'd already heard of your business because you've already been out there really beating the drum and building up such a huge brand, which has really got such strong presence in the marketplace before you even launched really effectively. You've kind of gone out there and sold a lot of produce, but there's so much on the horizon for the business itself. So before we get into the webinar, Josh and Ollie, I'd love you guys to just quickly introduce yourselves.
Okay, perfect. Hi, everybody. I'm Josh, the co-founder and CEO of Aussie sustainability brand Single Use Aint Sexy. Most of you probably know me or us from all of the noise we've been making on social media and with the crowdfund, but I kind of lead the day-to-day operations of the business, and I'll get more into kind of what we each do. And then this is my brother, Ollie. I'll let him introduce him.
Yeah, so my name's Ollie. Josh is the brains and brawn behind the business. I sit and support Josh in the governance and the management of the business, but day to day, his face is a lot more pretty than mine. So we put him as the face of the business, and you'll see through this, he's much better on camera as well.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. So for everybody who's attending here today, just so you understand the structure, we have a Q&A feature, which we're really going to be going throughout the whole webinar. I've picked up a number of questions which we've got, which Single Use Aint Sexy have been receiving over the course of the campaign. And as we come towards the expression of interest campaign itself, we've had some great questions from people. But for everybody who's attending here today, I really encourage you to use that Q&A feature. Just while Ollie's grabbing himself a glass of water, I encourage you to use that Q&A feature as much as possible. We're going to be picking questions out there and answering them for you live. But look, before we go into some of the finer details and the questions, why don't you take us back to the start, how it all started, and really what's been able to kind of build up the viral success of the business so far that you've had, and how you got here, because I think it's just such a fascinating story. So over to you guys.
Okay, perfect. And as well, to your point, Robin, please, everybody, ask questions. I love when people ask questions, and it makes sure that we can actually answer the things that you want to know. So ask questions. We will do our best to answer every single question. Robin, keep us on time, and we'll go from there. So look, I like to start off by always doing a little product demonstration, because I think it helps really bring our product to life. So what we have created are Australia's first dissolvable hand soap tablets and reusable glass bottles. So I like to say it's kind of like a Barocca tablet, but for hand soap. And so you just add water. So you fill up our sexy reusable glass bottle that looks beautiful on your sink, fill it with tap water, drop the tablet in, let the tablet dissolve, and then the soap comes out as this beautiful, thick, white, aloe essence scented foam hand soap that you wash your hands with. Then when you're done, instead of chucking a single-use plastic bottle into landfill like usual, you'd fill it back up with tap water, drop another tablet in, and the whole cycle starts again. So one of our reusable glass bottle can save up to 25 single-use plastic bottles from landfill each year. So the business started because I just thought, isn't it insane how we all ship water around? The idea of shipping water, which is a resource that comes out of your tap, you're already paying for it, it's almost free. It's coming in the location where you want to use and make our soap. So the idea is, instead of having a huge ship with tens of millions of bottles of liquid products, we've condensed those down into the raw ingredient, which is 3% of them. So an entire ship could be condensed down into a few pallets of tablets. So you're helping people minimize their carbon footprint on the back end in the supply chain. And then on the front end, you're helping them reduce their single-use plastic bottle consumption. So I guess the journey started because I just started freaking out that I was just chucking out so much crap all the time. And, you look in your bin or underneath your sink in your bathroom or your kitchen, there's just so many plastic bottles. And so I kind of set out on this journey to figure out, all right, what can I do which is going to help people decrease their single-use plastic bottle consumption at home, but which is just easy. super simple, super easy. I don't want people to have to think. I just want them to be able to just kind of, yep, bang, done, easy, done, get on with my day. And so that's kind of the genesis of the business. And personally, for me, I've always been obsessed with the just add water category of products, always since I was a little kid. So like my grandparents used denture cleaning tablets, right? My parents cooked with chicken stock cubes. When we were kids, we drank powdered cordial. So it's about leveraging the technology in the just add water space, right? So leveraging effervescence and dissolvability, but doing it in new categories of products where the impact can be felt really significantly to decrease single-use plastic bottles. So that's the kind of first little intro spiel, and hopefully that gives you a bit of context.
Yeah, that's awesome. And you've already kind of answered a bit of the second question, which is kind of where the inspiration came from for the business itself. You've really kind of given light to not only your childhood, but also, you know, the Just Add Water movement and environmentally friendly aspect of the business itself. It's just a no-brainer, really, that we have to move to these environmental sustainable practices in order to absolutely sustain what we're doing. Because the amount of, you know, produce which is just thrown away in landfill is just insane. But is there anything else that really, like, you know, played a huge part in your inspiration for the business itself?
Look, I think you make a really good point there. So every year, on average, Aussies chuck out 130 kilos of plastic, right? That's what they use. 9% of it gets recycled. And so we're trying to break that cycle and short circuit just that endless kind of, you know, run of plastic going to landfill or going out into our oceans or waterways or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So I think for me, that was the really significant piece is, look, I originally suffered from something I think a lot of us do, which is called eco-anxiety, which is actually a real thing. But it's this feeling that the environmental situation that we're all in is so dire that nothing we do will ever be significant enough to make a difference. And so that really is how I kind of set out on this path, just wondering, like, well, what can I do? Like, what can be impactful?
Sure.
And so I think it's about helping people make those small little incremental changes, like I was saying, that just easily integrate into their daily routines in a really frictionless way, which is what I think waterless products really do. And so, yeah, it's just about marrying up the crazy plastic stats that we're all kind of across with convenience, and then making it sexy, because I think the future of sustainability is to make it sexy. I think you should be allowed to want to do good and look good with beautiful products at the same time. I reckon that is the way to go. And I think it's really important that, you know, people have products available to them that look really cool as well as serve a really environmental function as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And we've already seen a few questions come in, and I promise you that we're going to get to them really quickly, especially because the question after my next one really ties in perfectly with some of these questions which have been asked. So we're going to get to them. But I really want you to just highlight some of the milestones in the business, because since inception, you've sold out twice of your produce, and you've really, you know, built this like strong community that's kind of just enabled the business to go pretty viral from the get-go. So I'd really love to just understand some of those milestones and how you've achieved them.
Yes, there's been a lot of milestones. To be honest with you, I have been so overwhelmed and excited by how the Aussie community has received our business and our mission, the cheapiness of our brand, and, you know, the whole thing. So the way it started, the first big milestone going viral was we launched just around the same time as COVID, which was actually just coincidental. So we'd been planning on launching this business before that, the actual product. And basically, it was just as everyone was going into lockdown. And that, remember, it was Australia-wide lockdown. We're Melbourne, so we've been going in and out, but this was Australia-wide. And so I went out to all of these massive influencers with big family followings and said, look, you're at home, homeschooling kids, going crazy. Use our product as an at-home science experiment for kids that you're homeschooling, right? And it just took off from day one. It just went viral. Families loved it. Kids loved it. It was fun. It was teaching them about sustainability, but in a fun way. And then from then, it's just kind of taken on a life of its own. So there's a few key milestones. Like for me, I think the fact that we've sold out twice in our first 12 months speaks to how much Aussies like love what we're doing. And I cannot tell you how much we appreciate that. We won a Pause Fest award, which is like the major innovation and ideas and creativity festival in Australia. So to be able to take home that prize in a category of like amazing other brands was so exciting, especially within our first year. We estimate we've now saved up to 125,000 single-use plastic bottles from landfill. If everyone who's bought our product is using it for the year, which is super exciting. And also a massive achievement, which I think none of us kind of, look at that closely enough, but finding product market fit and launching a product in market in the first 12 months is so hard. And like so hard, but so rewarding. And so to have product market fit literally from day one, I think is something that we should be really stoked with. And so for me, I think part of the reason we've had so much traction, a lot of media traction, we've had, communities with over 5 million followers knowing about us because these really high profile Aussies are just endorsing the product without us even asking them. They're just finding it themselves. I think there's a lot of reasons to be proud. I think what we want to do now is leverage what we've done in that first real 12 months of operations to scale the business in a really significant way. I very much see this as an inflection point. And Ollie will chat a little bit about this in a bit when we're chatting about some numbers, but it's about leveraging what we've done and then really kind of harnessing that to grow in a significant way. And I think that's where we're at right now, which I feel like so exciting.
Definitely. And Annie here has asked a question which really just like is a perfect addition to what you've just said. She's asked, why do you think Single Use Aint Sexy has resonated so deeply with Aussie customers? I know, from even moving over here, as observations that I've seen in Australian consumer buying behavior in comparison with even buyer behavior in the UK and in the US as well. I spent a bit of time, and I know you have too. I think really Australians just resonate with a business that's trying to do good at the same time as operating as a business. It's so clear that businesses which are doing good as an operation really stand out from the crowd, because if you've just incorporated a business and your number one goal is to make money, well, Australians typically don't resonate with that. And from what I can see in the capital raising industry, unless that is an addition, unless there is a do good factor to your business, it's not going to stand out. And it's absolutely essential. But from your perspective, why is it that you think that you've really been able to build this strong following?
Yeah, mate, I think that's a great point. Like, those days are over. Like, people want more from the brands that they support. I like to say that previous generations voted at the ballot box, and I think today we vote with our wallets. So we know what people want based on the brands and the organizations and the missions and the people who people are supporting. Yeah. So I think my thesis as a person, as an entrepreneur, is if you build a business which is based around an impact model, as the business succeeds, the mission succeeds. So the more people who buy our products means that the more plastic bottles saved from landfill. So the reason I wanted to do an equity crowdfunding campaign, and Ollie and I spoke a lot about how we should fund the business, is because we wanted to offer people to join the movement. Like, we want to offer them to own a part of our plastic-free future. Because if people have been this excited about using the products, like, how excited will they be to benefit both from being a shareholder, but also environmentally as we grow? So the business is the intent of the business, and our mission is very much built around our impact. And it's so exciting that so many people are kind of keen on that aspect of our business too, because that's the thing that's really motivating us. So the businesses that I see out there in the market are the ones who are doing that authentically, where it just feels legit and it just feels like people are well-intentioned. And so I think one of the reasons, in answer to that question, why the business has resonated with people is because it's us and it's you, and we're all in this together. And it sounds a little bit cliche and corny, but it's true. Like, I think that our business is stepping in the place where, government or big business or whatever maybe hasn't done enough in the plastic space. And so, last week, New South Wales and WA both announced that they're fast tracking their single-use plastic targets. Victoria's already there. South Australia is the leader in Australia. Coles and Woolies are now banning single-use plastic cutlery and single-use plastic tableware. So the current of change is behind us in a really significant way. And like we all know it's the right thing to do. So quite frankly, I just feel like we're so lucky that we get to even work in a space where you just feel like everyone is wanting to try and support you and achieve that kind of greater good together.
100%, 100%. That's really exciting to hear. And I think, you know, in really relation to that, you've had a lot of questions which have come through around the product itself and what expansion looks like for the business, because there's so many opportunities. It's really a case of which one do you pick. So Megan here has asked, in terms of expansion from hand soap, have you done any work on how possible it is to create a similar tablet for other items? I'm sure you've had this question come through tons of times, but it's going to be a great opportunity to answer it here.
Firstly, I should say, Megan, are you in my head? Because this is all I think about every day, how many different categories we could go into. So the answer, of course, is yes. So the first product has been the hand soap. I think the strategy has been to make the hand soap famous. All right. So we didn't want to fragment everybody's interest and focus too much by just coming out with a million different products. I think carving out that niche in a category that is going to be worth almost $40 billion US by 2027 is the number, right? Means that hand soap is a really interesting market that's ripe for disruption, because what do we all do? Well, most of us wash our hands with plastic bottle liquid hand soap. I know some people using bar soap, which I love as well. But so the opportunity to disrupt an industry that is already really well embraced by people, but I think is probably ready for a bit of disruption is really interesting.
Yeah.
And then let's think about the logical things. What comes after hand soap? For me, it's things like body wash, face wash, bath bomb, shampoo, shower gel, right? So that's the personal care vertical. Yeah. And then there's the home cleaning product vertical. So things like multi-purpose spray tablets, glass cleaning tablets, bathroom cleaning tablets, you know, dishwasher tablets. So what I like to say is we have the kind of broader goal is to become the global leader in the just add water category in the right. And so I think what's interesting is that you have opportunities to go into so many different categories of products and create tablet forms for each of them. So yes, we've started with the hand soap tablet and the hand soap bottle, but I think the broader vision that we can see is a full system, which is all, I like to say, tabletized. And I just think the just add water category is it makes so much sense. And if we think about like how people can minimize their carbon footprint moving forward as well, I just think there's going to be more and more momentum around, you call it what you want, refillable beauty or just add water, this whole space. And so our intention is to keep bringing out new products, but within this vertical, and kind of like become really well known for doing this really well.
Yeah, 100%.
If I can just add there, Megan, because I think you've hit the nail on the head, and you know you can see the passion and opportunity that we have ahead of us. One of the immediate things in the business has been the amount of demand has been really humbling. The people who really love this product, you know, want to come on the journey, and so our immediate focus has been on the hand soap. However, this is a major reason, and part of the reason we're raising is to have capital to start to explore these other SKUs, other opportunities, other product lines, and really grow the momentum around Single Use Aint Sexy.
Yeah, awesome. And, you know, people have asked you questions around the produce itself and kind of what the ingredients are in the tablets. And Megan here has asked a follow-on question of how kind of environmentally friendly and human friendly the tablets are themselves, which obviously encompasses, sensitive skin and aspects like this. And I'm sure that this has been, a question that you've answered from the get-go. Just really around the safety of the product for other, for all types of skin and any people.
Yeah, I think that's a really important point too, is that obviously within our brand ethos is that if we're going to bring out sustainable products, we want them to be good for you, and we also want them to be ethically sourced. And so we've really tried our best to create products that are good for you, and I'm really proud that we have. So obviously they're non-toxic. We have no ingredients in the EWG unacceptable list, which is like the global standard for toxicity and toxic ingredients. Very, very lightly scented with aloe essence, so it's super soft on your skin. I think one of the big things for us over the last year, especially at the start of COVID, is, especially in Melbourne, is if you're washing your hands 15 times a day, which I think some of us were at one point, is the last thing you want is to have toxic chemicals on your hands, flaky skin, really dry skin. So I think for us, that's been super important. They're also cruelty-free, palm oil-free, vegan. So I think for us, making products that people feel comfortable having in their home, you know, we've got a lot of fire alarm tests, of course, good timing. But, you know, like a lot of kids and families and stuff using our products too, and they're super soft on little hands. So yeah, I think the actual product formulations has been something we've been really proud of. And then now we're developing tablets in other product categories. I think we're taking what we learned with the hand soap from a quality point of view and making sure that those other products like meet the same standards.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. And you had a question before, and I can see that you've already kind of covered this in you know, brief detail on the company profile around the cost of the tablet. I know that you want to bring this down as effectively as possible. And when you get economies of scale, you really have that opportunity to do so. So somebody here actually, you know, off the webinar previously asked if the price of the tablets will come down over, you know, over time, and sort of what it might come down to.
Awesome. Well, I'm sure you'll all be happy to know that the fire alarm test in our building is now complete.
Amazing.
Yeah. So we can get back to talking about our soap. Look, love that question for a couple of reasons, because I think price is really important. So you think about our tablet, right? It starts at $3 each when you buy it in a refill pack. So philosophically, one thing that we have always felt really passionately about is that what you don't do is bring out a sustainable product that's good for the planet and then price people out of being able to access it. So if you are a single person working on minimum wage with kids, you should have access to sustainable products for the benefit of your world and community, just as, you know, a corporate banker should. And so I am I feel really strongly about this, that I want to make sure that we are democratizing access to sustainable products in this way. So the soap tablets start at $3. That means, yes, I would love to bring the price down. And what's been interesting for us is, we'll talk about margins a little bit later, but as our economies of scale get bigger, obviously our margins have improved, which means our price point can come down as well. But, you know, the model is, I think it's a pretty shrewd model for us and for potential investors. People buy the bottle once and then they get tablet refills. So after the raise, we'll be launching a tablet subscription service, which is really exciting, which means it's even more frictionless because they just don't have to think. We'll send them their tablets every quarter or every couple of months, whatever it is. But definitely, I think we want to keep our price points accessible. But I don't know, it's kind of like accessible luxury. Like, this doesn't feel to me like a cheap product. Like, I think it's damn sexy. It's a glass bottle, stainless steel top, white matte paint. People love the aesthetic and they love the design. And so I kind of am really happy that we've been able to bring something like this to market and still make it affordable, so that you're not paying some obscene amount of, you know, $50 for one bottle or something ridiculous.
Definitely. No, that's awesome. And you've already kind of touched on it a little bit, but what else is in the product pipeline? What does that look like over the next 12 months and beyond?
Yeah, I think Ollie touched on that in terms of, you know, releasing different SKUs. I think one of the things that we can talk about there is we do a lot of customer research, a lot of focus groups, and looking at a lot of insights and data into what people want. So in effect, crowdfunding this round is not new for us, because I feel like this is a very culturally crowdfunded business. And what I mean by that is, like, we are out there chatting to our community about what they want to see.
100%.
I reckon that's the only way to do it. Like, if you have a direct-to-consumer brand, it means you go direct to your consumers for advice and help and feedback.
Always.
So I love it. Like, I got to say, like, I wish we could take credit for everything, but some of the best ideas in this business are coming from people who love the products, who just want to throw their 2 cents in. And, you know, we'll put our email out there on the website and people just email us like, have you thought of this? Or have you thought of this? So there's, like I was saying, there's this groundswell of support around the business where, but obviously no one owns part of it yet because we haven't opened the crowdfund, but people feel emotionally like they do. And so it does feel like more than a commercial exchange with people. It feels like we're helping facilitate their sustainability kind of like journey or experience. And so with the additional product categories that you mentioned at the start of this question, I feel like that's an opportunity for us to continue to extend that relationship into other areas of their homes and lives.
100%, 100%. And you've already had a question here around, selling out your produce twice, what kind of, stock that meant for the business itself. So what, you had in place in the first instance and the second instance, and really what that meant from a revenue perspective for the business. And, we can answer this in stages, but somebody's really asked a little bit around the profit margins on each of those stock orders itself. And I know that this is, for an early business, you're going to have your margins, but ultimately you reinvest that back into the business itself to really try and help gear up, your inventory for the next run. And really, at this point in time, I think it would be really surprising if you were taking any profit and not reinvesting it back into the business. It would just be pretty crazy to me.
I wish.
Yeah.
No, we will get there. It's a really good question, and as you know, Robin, a lot more detail will be provided in the offer documents.
Absolutely.
So we will go sort of high-ish level now, and then happy to sort of dive in directly in more detail around the offer. But I think we keep talking about different markets and opportunities. Selling out twice for us was, in a sense, an issue, but also it was an issue driven by the absolute incredible demand that we've seen. And so we're raising capital now to invest in stock. We've engaged people around the business on an advisory board to really help us to forecast out and get ahead of that inventory management. We've also appointed third-party logistics to help with that stock management. So
right.
That sellout has been the best thing that's happened to us. It showed us that really, really quick product market fit and market traction, which has been super exciting.
Awesome.
But it's on us now to really start, having enough stock and having sufficient stock in the business to fulfill the demand. Revenue side, it's grown month on month, grown rapidly along with that customer demand. We're up to about $17,000 per month, which is really, really great. As we continue to invest in stock and invest in marketing, we can continue to see that grow. And we've seen that grow over the last few months. Along with that, we're working on a gross margin of around 50%, about 48% at the moment, which is a really strong gross margin in the business. As Josh says, the increase in scale will help us to continue to increase those numbers. However, we do still want to retain a really attractive price point and accessible price point for the market. We won't go too deep into profitability as it is a sort of a future state of the business. Safe to say that we are forecasting a profitable position and do intend to get the business to a profitable position early to mid next year, and are working towards those forecasts.
Yeah, awesome, fantastic. And I mean, people are also really eager to know. We've had questions about the ingredients, which you've already covered off with regards to the tablets and the produce itself. People are really interested to know where they're kind of, the tablets and bottles are manufactured. This is questions which, I see Australians asking, and I absolutely love that they really want to know this information about the business itself.
Yeah, me too. At the moment, we're getting the tablets and the bottles made in China, and then we're getting all of our packaging and marketing collateral all made locally in Australia. So just for whoever asked that question, I am also one of those people who's always saying, like, is this made in Australia? Is this made in Australia? And then I started my own business and realized that I couldn't afford to get it all made in Australia, which is to another point that I think you'd asked before, is I haven't taken a salary in 18 months. It's, life savings, passion, and the only thing I eat, breathe, sleep, all that stuff. So for me, when you're bootstrapping a business, as we have done with our own cash, it's really hard to get stuff made here to begin with. And that is the honest truth. It sucks and it's annoying. And I would love to say that we get the tablets and bottles made here. We started off with the bottles made here, and then we transitioned because we wanted to get into a better looking bottle and it was more sustainable to use glass. So I think for us now, one of the priorities is doing some really serious R&D into potential Aussie manufacturers and looking at that as an option for us, which we've already started doing and which is really exciting. One thing I am really proud of is our box packaging. So we have 100% biodegradable, 100% Aussie made and sourced mailer boxes, which I think are beautifully made and protect the products and can be reused or recycled, or like I said, they can be biodegraded. So I think that's been really important for us as well. And I think as we look to scale who our manufacturer is and how we work with them and the amount of volumes we have, these are all lessons. Like Ollie was saying with our forecasting, like they're just lessons. Like I think the lessons from the first 12 months are that you hit these incredible milestones, and then, which is great because it's validation, but then you also realize, all right, we need to operationalize things. We need to make things more efficient. We need to increase our profit margins. All these lessons, I was listening to the Bubble Tea webinar the other day, and there was a lot of similarities. These businesses that just fly right out of the gate is you're just trying to keep up and make sure that the operational efficiencies and the cost efficiencies are there. So for us now, I think we're at that point where we'll close this round and we actually know what we need to do. It's not about just let's try it. Like we have a really robust plan. I think one of the things that Ollie's very humble guy, so he won't say, but he's very, very good at corporate governance. He's had a lot of experience as an advisor, as a chair, as different leader of organizations. And our advisory board too has those kind of credentials. So I might actually talk a little bit about our advisory board if I could. So last week we announced that we appointed Russell Howcroft to our advisory board. So for those, a lot of you probably know Russell. He is, I'd say, probably Australia's #1 branding, marketing and advertising expert. He is brilliant, very creative. He ran Channel 10. He was the Chief Creative Officer of PwC. He's the #1 breakfast radio host in Melbourne. He's on the Gruen Show on the ABC. A brilliant person, a brilliant mind, someone who I think any business would just absolutely kill to have as part of their team. So the fact that he has chosen to join Single Use Aint Sexy as an advisor is probably one of the greatest milestones that we've had that we didn't mention before. Ollie, do you want to maybe chat about Chris Dao and Annika?
Absolutely. So Chris, I mean, you use the word brilliant a lot. Chris is another brilliant person who we're very lucky to have around the business. Chris has a background in recycling, closed loop recycling, and ran one of the UK's largest closed loop recycling plants. He's now in America setting up a similar operation, one of the world's largest recycling plants. So Chris comes with a wealth of knowledge in the sort of eco-sustainability space. Beyond that knowledge, it's his passion for the space too. When we first met, Chris told me his life is rubbish. And I laughed, and then he said, no, seriously, it's recycling rubbish, breathe, sleep that.
Yeah.
But he's also, he's a serious investor, angel investor. He's chaired a lot of boards himself. He's taken companies from woe to go, right to exit, including a recent exit. So he's fantastic. And then Annika is, the sort of an absolute star and a huge asset to our team and our business. Annika's senior at PwC. She works in the M&A area, very, very strong financial accounting background, and is really, she's playing the role of CFO in the business at the moment. She goes above and beyond and is really adding rigor to our financial management and financial forecasting in the business.
And just to continue on from that, I always think advisory boards are a really good idea for a young company, because you are basically getting people on board who have been there before. And so, you need help. We need help. We all need help. We all need advice, whether it's life or business or whatever. Asking someone who has been there before you and done it, I think is so important. And so we have been really strategic to pick advisors in areas where we think as a business, we need coverage to grow. So Russell, brand and marketing expert. Annika, brilliant at finance, deals, and strategy and M&A. Chris, one of the global leaders in sustainability and recycling. He's the current CEO of the International Recycling Group, one of the world's largest plastics recycling facilities, as Ollie said. So it's about getting advisors, especially they weren't appointed for the purposes of the crowdfund, but it's been really interesting, talking to a lot of you guys on the call. And I think one thing that people want to know is what are the governance structures? Who are involved? Where are you going for advice? Do these people know what they're doing? We haven't announced yet, but very, very excited. We will be announcing, I think, next week, two additional advisors who have agreed to come on board. Serious players in the e-commerce space, in the direct-to-consumer space, and in the social media and digital advertising world. So I feel like we are building a really stellar team of people that can help us really grow.
Yeah, fantastic.
Can I build on that, Robin, in terms of building the team, because that is, that will be a use of funds. As Josh just said, he's, day to day putting in, every hour of the day, as any founder, any entrepreneur does. But for this business at this inflection point, to really capitalize on the first to market opportunity, to capitalize on, this groundswell of support, we need to staff up. And so we need capital to staff up to achieve the huge goals and mission that we have in the business, and to really, to make the most of the opportunities, to look at different markets, to look at different product lines, and
100%.
To capitalize.
100%. And it's so interesting. And when it comes from the perspective of advisors, I think in your industry in particular, it just helps you to not make the wrong decisions, because they've been there, done that. So in so many scenarios, and really from a perspective of just having that background experience, it's not always about making the right choice. It's just helping you to not make the wrong one. And I think that for an advisor, like an advisory board, because you have so many opportunities in front of you as a business, and you need to be able to pick and choose where you go, when you're growing. And I think really being able to have that soundboard to bounce ideas off of is just so integral to helping a business grow at an early stage. So it's fantastic to hear you've got a great team of advisors with fantastic experience behind you. We're getting great questions through. Thank you, everybody who's asking them. We're going to try and speed up the process of getting through these. Otherwise, we probably won't have a chance to get through these all, but I know you guys love talking about your business. So let's walk through these. Claire here has said, I'm really extremely eager to hear about the wholesale side for us little retailers, please. Well, I think, from your side, I'd really be interested to hear strategically where you're looking to go with this.
Yeah. Ollie loves talking to me about the wholesale potential of this business. So why don't you sense?
Yeah. So look, currently we are a D2C e-commerce structure. I think we see huge opportunities. We've been approached by wholesalers, by large retailers. We certainly see opportunities in those markets. I think it's on the roadmap. It's about doing it in the right way. And doing it at the right time. And we certainly don't want, a deal that could hamstring us long term from a wholesale perspective. But we see a lot of different market channels there in terms of, wholesale, hotels, hospitality. We were approached the other day about potential in the settlement of real estate. So as a settlement gift in real estate, there's market opportunities everywhere. I think for ultimate growth and scale of the business, wholesale is certainly part of that.
I think to Ollie's point too is we're in an interesting position where we have Australia's biggest retailers reaching out to us, which is not a position we ever expected to be in, but it's pretty validating that what you're doing is something that they think is important. Yeah. And so I think it would be remiss of us not to look at those opportunities and explore what retail could look like. On the wholesale, now obviously with retail, what I should say is you can do massive volumes, but then you don't necessarily own the customer and build that community as much. So there's always, any business at our stage is always, looking at these questions and figuring out what their strategy is. The wholesale stuff, let's put this in really practical terms. Imagine you run a hotel chain which has 30,000 rooms, and there has to be liquid products, little plastic bottles in every room for shower gel, conditioner, hand soap, shampoo, whatever. Imagine if you tabletized their whole cleaning system. So no longer were people carting around liquid products in plastic bottles on trolleys, but it was just new tablet for each guest, bang. So I just think those opportunities are massive, and we have not had the capability to even explore them fully. And that is why businesses like us raise capital at these inflection points, because you can just feel the opportunity there, but you want to have enough resources to actually explore them properly.
100%.
And so I think for us, it's about getting people on board who can help us massively amplify our sales capabilities. And I like to say, like, what we have done in a year with nothing, imagine what we can do with some capital and a team behind us who can really push things further.
Most definitely. It's so exciting to hear. And I know that you will have been thinking about the wholesale arm of the business already. But it's really exciting to hear that you've already had some big opportunities knock on your door. Again, really just pick and choose where you go from here. Mike's asked a great question around kind of what the numbers have looked like over the past 12 months with obviously the produce that you've sold out. A lot more detail on that is going to be in the offer document, but they're really keen to know what the business is going to look like in the next 1, 2, 3 years. I know even the hotel chain is probably something that you're looking at thinking, we could do this, we could absolutely capitalize on this and really go after that market. But, perhaps just some visionary perspective and where you really do see yourselves focusing on for the next few years as a business would be great to hear.
Can I jump in quickly on this and then perhaps pass to Josh?
Yeah.
And it's really fair. The vision's huge. The vision is really, really huge. Taking a more practical, immediate approach, depending on the amount raised. So depending on where the amount lands will depend on the amount we can achieve. So the more money we raise here, the more we will achieve along that path. I'm a big advocate for finding a market and finding product market fit. And that's why we've really focused in, and Josh is right on board with me on this, that we really focus in on making the hand soap an immediate star and making that the core product of this business that has traction. Particularly as well, doing that in Australia. The opportunities beyond our borders are ginormous.
Definitely.
And we are starting to look at that international expansion over the next few years. That is in the roadmap. Other products are certainly in the roadmap, and other revenue channels. So whether that be wholesale, retail, hotels, they are all in our vision and our plan over the next 3 years. It's a fascinating sort of opportunity point in the business where, and it's not that we're ignoring emails that are coming in, we're absolutely addressing and opening discussions, but we're at a point where we have some opportunities to choose the direction over the next few months. Yeah. And really importantly there, and this is where we work with this fantastic advisory board we have, we take outside advice to make an internal decision of how best to achieve, how to move the needle the most in the small amount of time, that everybody has. It's a finite amount of time in a week.
Exactly. Yeah.
What do we pick? How do we strategize? And how do we move forward?
100%. Anything on your side, Josh?
I think I'd just say that we try to be really shrewd and strategic about the business decisions that we do make. So, if you look at successful brands in the market, they grow because they have really considered people behind them making educated decisions about how they should move and how they should grow. And so all our decisions are really carefully considered. I know that might sound really obvious, but it's just their responsibilities that we take really seriously. Like, what decisions can we make now that will help grow the business significantly in the next 1, 2, 3 or more years? So I think that's something that's super important to us. And like Ollie said, obviously we rely on our advisory board, but a lot of personal and business mentors as well. So people who aren't necessarily on our advisory board, but who we could call the phone up to tomorrow and say, what's it like if you get into Coles? What happens if you go to Sephora in the US? Like, okay, you launched in Canada, like what does that take? So, you know, if we want to do that in years to come, we have people who can kind of guide us, which is important. The other thing too, I would say about the bigger opportunity is never in the history of the world have we ever lived in a period where washing your hands and single-use plastic have met.
Yeah, that's very true. Yes.
So like for the last year and a half, I feel like all I've ever heard about, not even just because this is our work, but is the single-use plastic crisis and hand washing. So in Australia, every day, people washing their hands almost 200 million times, right? That's based on the average amount, which is 7.5 times. So the opportunity is massive. You've got people washing their hands millions of times who are consciously wanting to decrease their plastic consumption. And so I feel like single use ain't sexy. It just fits in. It just makes sense. And I think one of the reasons why we've had these opportunities and this reception is because people see it and they just think it's a no-brainer. You know, it's simply a no-brainer.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And you've got two questions here, which actually kind of really ask around competition and the protections that you've put in place for your brand. So I'm going to combine them together and just ask, you know, what are the entry barriers for other businesses coming into this space? You know, how hard are the tablets to copy and what protections are there in place for your brand? I know that when it comes to a lot of this, your brand and its presence in the market is actually one of the most solid you know, pinpoints of IP that you have, because people resonating with your brand, thinking of your brand and buying it and having that purchasing power are really strong. But I'm really keen to hear it from your perspective, especially, you know, considering what angles you both come from here. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I'll happily talk to this. I'm an ex-IP lawyer.
Yeah.
I spent the first of the 10 years of my career in intellectual property law. So brand is everything for us. We've got trademark protections over our brand and our strapline. Don't be a tosser,
Yes.
which is fantastic. But for us, you know, first mover advantage in the market, building a strong brand. One of Josh's major strengths, and you know, I think we started this talk talking about the amount of exposure and traction of that brand. It's everywhere. It's up on billboards on major corners in Melbourne, you know, all across Ticker TV, right across you know, all social media channels. There's some really exciting press opportunities and press that will come out, you know, shortly, and that has been out, awards. So our brand is well protected, and our brand is really, the equity in our brand is huge. We know that. It's why we've got a strong, you know, very, very unique looking bottle design and really clear brand presence on that bottle. There we go. And so, yeah, it's a really good question. We've got everything in place to protect, and we're pushing forward as hard as we can to keep growing that brand presence.
Most definitely, most definitely. And you've had a question from somebody here asking what the pre-money valuation of the business is going to be. This is actually going to be highlighted in the offer document, which will be with you next week. So for any details regarding, you know, the pricing or any revenue, I will encourage you, really, if you haven't expressed interest already, please go and do so, so that you will basically be one of the first potential investors in, and you'll be able to gain access to that offer document to see aspects such as the pre-money valuation and the, you know, the revenue in the business already. But if you guys wanted to elaborate on that, then please feel free to do so.
I might just go back and actually elaborate on the point before, because you answered that well just then. With the brand stuff, I think that's why someone like Russell Howcroft is attracted to the business, because he saw a game-changing brand in a category that he thought was right for disruption, and likes the team and likes the team. And so if you think about, you know, the best brands, they make you feel like, they make you emote. And so the idea with the name Single Use Aint Sexy, personally, I think that a business name is the single most powerful piece of real estate and valuable piece of real estate you can have, and it's free to create. So why not make something that makes people actually kind of feel drawn to the brand. And so philosophically, that is kind of the space we've been in. It's about making a serious issue, which is single-use plastic consumption and environmentalism, into an approachable and engaging kind of solution. So the last thing anyone wants is to be guilted or nagged or shamed into doing the right thing, right? Remember when your mum told you to do something, so you run and do the complete opposite? The last thing anyone needs is businesses and brands making them feel badly about themselves. And so our approach is never to do that. It is about making sustainability so sexy and so fun and so engaging that people are drawn to it and they just want to get involved. And so I often say it's like our brand is about serious fun. It's about dealing with a serious issue, but doing it in a way that is fun and cheeky and a little bit, irreverent and funny.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. You've had some really great and positive comments here, and it's always fantastic to see, from the likes of Mel and Claire saying they're awesome, awesome brand that you've built up. And I think one of the comments really alluded to the fact that they hadn't heard of you outside of the Birchal race, which is, a great testament to doing an equity crowdfunding campaign and kind of getting all this coverage and really getting out there with the brand, which I'm really pleased to see. Peter here has said a great product. Congratulations. What share of the hand soap market do you think is achievable, or are you aiming to target? And yeah, I'm sure that you've been talking about this before.
Look, it's a really hard question to answer, because if you give a dollar figure amount, you're just kind of like saying something random. And I always like to think I'm a bit more considered than that.
This is the pie. This is the slice we're going to take.
Yeah. Look, the global hand soap market by 2027 is going to be worth around just under $40 billion. So, like I said before, we are living in very interesting times where all of a sudden washing your hands has become something that people have been obsessed with. And I think following on from COVID, there's going to be this kind of like wake for at least 5 years where people become really conscious about health and hygiene. And so for us, when you talk about the market opportunity, I think firstly, as Ollie mentioned, like the focus right now is on Australia, but think about the global opportunity, especially in, say, developing regions where people don't have access to sanitation and hygiene, because who could transport thousands of liquid products there? Is you could just rock up with a big box of tablets and they make it themselves. So I think the opportunity and the market opportunity specifically are really big. Look, I think what's interesting is the refillable market opportunity is becoming massive. So it's not just the hand soap, it's a desire for people to be using more refillable and reusable products. And we very much see us as being able to usher in a transition to those types of products for people. And so that part of the market segment too is super interesting for us.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. And we'll get back to that because you've actually had a question here, and I really want to talk about it in a bit more detail in relation to, massive corporates which are going to come in and try to do something similar. But we'll definitely get back to that because I really have a comment on that as well. But you've had a question here about how your refill tablets have been priced to account for shipping. Over to you guys to answer.
Well, you'll be very happy to know that until now, we have been offering free shipping to our customers for the entire duration of our business, because we felt really passionately that if that was a barrier to entry for people, we wanted to remove it and just get them to try it and get them on the sustainability bandwagon. Now, I think moving forward, we're not always going to be able to do free shipping for our cheapest products, but I would not have changed that for the world for having done that since we started, because what you were doing is you're making it easy for people to make that decision to buy, and then you can convert them and increase their impact. So that's the answer to that one. Pretty simple.
Yeah, awesome. And I'm just going to jump down to a question here, which you talked about your advisors a lot, and people talk about kind of advisors and keeping them incentivized for the long run. So somebody's asked here, how are the advisors currently paid, or will they be in the future? Obviously, this is so integral to, a business's success in the long run, keeping the right kind of people around. So I'm sure that this is a question which you've been asked before.
Yep. I'll happily. Yeah, so our advisors issued shares in the business.
Awesome.
And so that will be more fully detailed in the offer docs. But
Absolutely.
we see they've bought in to this. They believe in this. You know, we don't have the capital at the moment in the business to pay Josh a salary.
Yeah.
Who's working full time. We're not paying advisors, you know, salaries or consulting fees. We are offering them shares in the business.
Great.
To come along this journey. And, you know, it's a very simple value exchange there. The more involved, the more skin in the game that they feel, the more they sort of lean into the business and help with that growth. And it's
absolutely, they're properly incentivized to see to see it grow.
Truthfully, they believe in it too. This group of advisors are amazing people who really believe in the business, in us as a team, and, you know, want to change the world and want to help in the way that we're doing it.
Yeah, great.
So,
fantastic.
we could never in a million years afford those people if we had to pay them.
Yeah.
That's serious. We have some of Australia's absolute leaders in their field on board, and we would not be able to afford to pay them. And so, as Ollie said, in terms of a value exchange, I think it is a very, very fair value exchange. I think it only happens if you can get those people really excited about the business. You know, people of that caliber get hit up all the time to be on advisory boards, to be mentors, all that stuff. And they end up knocking half that stuff back because they don't have the capacity to do it. And so I think for us, it's been important to have advisors on board who genuinely feel passionately about what we're doing, as Ollie said.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So just as we're coming up towards 1 o'clock, by the way, we've got 9 questions left. We're going to do our very best to get through.
Do the speed round, Robin.
We're going to do a speed round, but before we do a speed round, if some people do have to dip out before 1 o'clock, I really want to just answer a question which somebody has asked here about when they can invest. So at the moment, the Expression of Interest campaign is running until Monday night at 10 p.m. Looking to open up the investment offer on Tuesday next week at midday. If you've expressed interest already, you will receive effective communications, which will indicate exactly what you need to do and how you need to do it. If you haven't already expressed interest to invest, I highly encourage you to do so. I'm sure that 99% of people who are here have already done that, but if you're ear-eyed, you will be well informed as to exactly when the investment offer opens, and you'll be given first access as you've expressed interest to invest. So that is happening next week. And look, we're hugely excited to be opening the investment offer for really, you know, such a fantastic business and brand that people are so excited to be a part of. Now, 9 questions left. Let's see what we can do to get through these.
10 seconds a question, go.
All right. So you've had a question here around what do you think the biggest hurdle you'll be overcoming in expanding your range will be?
Everything associated with building a fast growth, young, early, ambitious business. It is a big moving beast that requires 24/7 care as if it's an infant, which is why I haven't slept much in the last 18 months. And so just basically getting all the processes and structures in place that we learn over the last 18 months and making sure that they help us be really efficient and cost effective in the next kind of few years.
Yeah, definitely. And really just as a expansion of that, Nick here has asked, what's going to drive growth in the future? Is your focus just on expanding the range, or are you looking to expand into new geographical locations, or a combination of both? I know that it's probably going to be a combination of both here.
Combination of both. Macro issues around washing hands more, around sustainability, but also micro issues around our sort of marketing growth.
Most definitely. And somebody here has asked, approximately how long do you think one of your 10 packs would last on average per person? Really not only from a per person perspective, but also from a household. So, you know, from that perspective, we're in a different time right now where people are washing their hands so regularly. So this is probably pretty hard to answer, but you know, on an estimate, how much do you think how long do you think your products would last in, not only a single owner home, but also a family?
Those 200 million hand wash stat we gave before means people burning through their soap. So one tablet will usually last about 2 weeks, depending on the size of the household.
Awesome. That's a decent amount of time. And Claire here has asked where your warehouse is located. You've obviously got operations here in Australia. So Melbourne?
Yes, we are a very, very proud Melbourne brand, and our warehouse is located here.
Fantastic, fantastic.
So we use a 3PL, I should just add, which has been so instrumental for the growth of the business. The 3PL is a third-party logistics partner, so they help us operationalize all of our logistics and also keep costs down really low. Probably one of the smartest decisions we made, because there was some very, very late nights early on there where we were packing the orders until very, very late into the morning. So we stopped doing that, and now we're with a logistics partner.
Yeah, awesome. And somebody here has asked around, what's the current business model, and what's the ideal business model you'd like to work towards? Obviously, you're in a kind of D2C space at the moment. You've talked about wholesale to quite an expansive degree. There's a lot of information that's going to be in the offer document, so I'm sure that this is going to cover this in so much detail. Is there anything else that you wanted to add that we maybe haven't touched on?
Worried on something Josh mentioned briefly before, but we're currently a D2C business model. We see huge opportunity in a subscription model, in recurring revenue, and to launch that and grow in that direction.
It really, from an outsider's perspective, is a no-brainer for your tablets to operate on a subscription model when you've got that position whereby people are using it on a regular basis, and then they'll need it by the end of the month, and how much they'll need completely depends on how often they're using it. But ultimately, having that flexi subscription model is going to just be a huge factor in driving down some of those marketing costs and really enabling these customers to be bought in and using the brand on a regular basis. So that's awesome. I know we've spoken about brand equity, and somebody here has asked about, how hard, would the founders think it would be for a major player in this space, such as Unilever, to copy the concept, or could they, or is there any protection? You've talked about this to a degree, but I really wanted to add that a lot of the time, the strategy for some of these conglomerates is actually to buy the company instead of copy it. They really, if the brand is strong enough, it's much more cost effective for them to swallow that company and bring that operation under their massive arm of other corporations which are already operating and have built highly sustainable, profitable models. So therefore, for a lot of the businesses which are in this space, it's actually not really always as cost effective, because they're not in the business of building up these businesses from the ground up. They know that other people do that better than them. But I'd love you guys to finish.
Yeah, for sure. And it's fantastic. And truthfully, the exit pathways are not on our immediate sort of focus, but certainly something that we discuss, and certainly on our long-term plan. And consolidation that you talk about there from the big players is absolutely one of the major opportunities for exit of this business, to create a liquidity event for investors coming into the round. So we see that as an opportunity. We are well aware that for that to be an opportunity, we need to grow the business quickly.
Very much so.
Have an incredibly strong brand and loyal customer base. And that's what we're doing. That's what we're focused on now, so that we're in a position that it is easier and better to buy the company rather than to launch a new product line.
Most definitely. Most definitely. Claire here has asked if you're planning to pair with a charity in the future.
We've already paired with lots of different charities. We did a big $10,000 fundraiser for Food Bank Victoria in the middle of lockdown. People were isolated. We've donated stock to St Kilda Mums. We're donating 5% of our Pride bottles to LGBT youth organisation -18. So it is very much about being part of our community and supporting causes that we feel passionately about, both related to sustainability and also social causes as well.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Well, that's the end of the questions. And look, for everybody who's attended, it's been so great to, answer all of your questions. So great to sit down with you guys and really just, even hear some of these insights from yourselves to really understand where the vision for the business is going and how you've built it today. It's so exciting to be working with you on this business, and I'm really thrilled that we're going to be launching this investment offer next week. So for everybody who's here, the investment offer is going to be opening up next week. I have to say to everybody, please do read the investment offer document before you go ahead and look to invest. But if you have any questions around equity crowdfunding or really want to know more, please feel free to email me. I'll follow up with everybody and send you the recording afterwards if you want to watch it or catch any part of the webinar at any point in time. But over to you guys to just wrap up.
Can I just say really quickly, thank you, Robin, and thank you everyone for coming. We're absolutely humbled by the expressions of interest and the amount of people that are not only putting in the expression of interest, but also reaching out, talking to us, evangelizing Single Use Aint Sexy amongst your networks. So a huge thank you to everyone. Josh and I have bootstrapped this business from day one. Neither of us have taken a dollar out of it at this stage. So we're absolutely into this, and we are really, really excited to open up the business and the journey to our customers and to you, and to have you come along on this journey. And as you can see, I mean, we've got a plethora of options in terms of where this goes from the raise, and we're over the moon excited with executing on those options over the next period.
Yeah, I second that. And I just think crowdfunding for stuff like this is perfect, because we want everyone out there in their communities, like Ollie said, talking about us and helping us grow and helping our impact increase. So if anyone wants to get in touch, here's my mobile number. You can call me. It is 0457 739 048. That is 0457 739 048. My phone is running hot at the moment with investor calls, because I'm giving it out to anyone. You want to text me, ask me a question, whatever, get in touch. I think if we're asking people to invest in us, the least we can do is answer all the questions you have and make sure that you feel really comfortable doing it. And as you can probably tell, we're pumped. So thanks for taking the time. And it's going to be a big, big week next week.
Most definitely. Thanks so much for everybody who stayed all the way till the end. We spilled over a little bit, but hey, it's been great. And guys, congratulations on everything you've achieved so far. I can't wait to see where this goes in a few years' time. So we're in, and thanks to everybody for attending. We'll see you soon. Take care.
Bye.